Welcome back to this special holiday series of the Sally O'Neill podcast, where I get to be your clinical nutritionist for a really quick snippet of time and take you through some science-backed tools and techniques to help you reach your goals faster and more sustainably than ever before. Now, in the last episode, I discussed how to navigate the social season whilst maintaining your health goals, which honestly sometimes feels absolutely impossible. So if you haven't listened to that one, please skip back one episode and rejoin here when you're ready, if that feels relevant for you. So this month on my coaching program, we're running plenty of live calls to support you through what can feel like a really stressful season for many, honestly. So if you're not enrolled already, please be sure to check that out. I'm going to add the link in the show notes at the bottom. And we've also got a registered counsellor there to support you with your relationship with food as well. So we've got you covered from all angles if your mental health around food is not great and you can often spiral and fall into unhealthy ways. Now, please remember that whilst I offer tips and tools that are science-backed on this podcast, unless you're a member of my coaching program, I am not your nutritionist. So you must seek medical advice from your own team before implementing anything new. Now, today we're going to focus on the most common holiday challenge I see for my clients, and that is the lovely hangover. Now, you may not know this, but the symptoms typically begin when your blood alcohol content drops actually close to zero. So by the time it's just got out of your system. And hangovers are predominantly caused by dehydration, associated electrolyte imbalances, increased inflammation of the body, the sleep disturbances, something called acetaldehyde accumulation, which is a toxic byproduct of alcohol metabolism. And then also there's this really pesky stuff called congeners, which are a substance produced in alcohol during fermentation. It's normally found in the dark liquor, so think like whiskey, rum, and brandy, and they worsen hangovers. So dark liquor can make hangovers worse than they need to be, and I would be absolutely avoiding them. You would be sticking with things more like vodka and gin and wine for this reason, but just be armed with the information so you know what to expect if you are going to have like a yummy rum and coke. Now, the severity of your hangover is going to be determined not only by the type and amount of alcohol consumed, but also your body weight, your food intake on that day that you drink, and your individual tolerance level, which is usually determined by the frequency that you drink. So I honestly drink maybe 2 or 3 times a year. My nickname in school used to be 2 Sip Sally, which is really embarrassing. So you can imagine my tolerance level. It is incredibly low. Now, whilst I always advocate for responsible drinking, I understand that celebrations get the better of us. Like, you're wrapped up in a good mood and the drinks start flowing and one thing leads to another, and soon you're knocking back way more than you originally planned. So these things happen. I'd just rather you be prepared. So in this short action plan episode, I'm going to dive into 10 science-backed tips to manage your hangovers effectively. Now, this is not an excuse to go and get wasted and think that you can undo a hangover, but merely I'm going to hand you some smart science-backed tips to hopefully make them less severe. So let's get to the first boring but very useful tip. Let's get it out the way, because it would be remiss of me not to state the obvious. You have to hydrate. That doesn't mean you have 1 glass of water before you head out. You already know that alcohol is a diuretic, which means that it increases your urine output. So your body becomes dehydrated because you're forced to go to more bathroom trips, and then you lose more fluid than usual. And it's this dehydration that really contributes to the headache and the fatigue the next day, which is why it's really important to drink plenty of water, or even better, you can try an electrolyte-rich drink to help replenish those lost fluids a lot faster. I personally use one called Hydrate by a company called Switch Nutrition. It's not sponsored, but I will add a link in the show notes if you're looking for a good one, because it's tasty. But you can use whichever one you prefer. I honestly just think it's smart to alternate between alcohol and water, though, as the night progresses. And then bonus point, you can add a little pinch of salt to your drinks, which will help you retain fluid. Now, normally we don't like that because it makes us feel bloated, obviously. But when you're drinking and losing fluid, a little bit of salt is a really good thing. Okay, so you're onto it. Ideally, you're going to have 2 to 3 litres of water during the day of drinking, the same the day after, and more if you're in a hotter climate. Now, tip number 2, one of my favourite supplements to consider is something called N-acetylcysteine. It's also known as NAC. And you need the approval of your medical provider before you run out and buy it. But NAC is an amino acid that your body produces naturally, and it helps support liver function. So it can help replenish something called glutathione, which is your body's strongest antioxidant, and it's depleted when we break down alcohol in our bodies. Now, I personally take 1 to 2 grams of NAC before drinking alcohol, knowing that it can reduce the severity of a hangover and it upregulates the liver enzymes, which helps break down the alcohol so that it can get the stuff out of my system a lot faster. Now, I actually use NAC with my clients in clinic for a million things. It's great for lung health, it's good for anti anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. It's actually also used in hospitals to treat paracetamol overdose, interestingly. So it's amazing for all detoxification purposes. So as you can imagine, it is one of my most prescribed. Cool. Next up, tip number 3 is fish oil supplementation, which you probably weren't expecting. Fish oil isn't just for joints and skin health, which we actually discussed in a previous episode about collagen, but the omega-3 fatty acids have a really strong anti-inflammatory property to them. So it makes sense then that it would help reduce the inflammation caused by alcohol, potentially easing your hangover symptoms. My mentor at uni taught me this one, and she's really a well-respected naturopath and absolutely swears by dosing it both before and after drinking to minimize the hangover. A higher dose of around 2 grams of a really good quality fish oil is a great place to start. Okay, tip number 4. Eating a really nutrient-rich breakfast the morning after wants to be savory, ideally, and specifically high in B vitamins. So something like 3 whole eggs and some whole grain toast is really going to serve you well. Your B vitamins are depleted by the alcohol, and your Bs are really crucial for energy production as well. So ensuring you consume plenty in your brekkie might not only help buffer the fact that you're really low on energy, but it'll also help stabilize your blood sugar and provide lots of other necessary nutrients. Now, I'm always going to promote food first where possible, but you might also consider taking a B vitamin if that's your jam. Any good quality B complex will help with energy levels if they're depleted. Tip number 5 is a little bit offbeat. So when I was looking at the studies for my research for this episode, there was a lot around prickly pear extract or Asian pear juice before a night of drinking. And researchers say that the Korean pears might actually work with your body's chemistry to break down alcohol faster. In fact, many of the studies suggested that prickly pear extract can reduce hangover symptoms by decreasing the inflammation, very much like the fish oil recommendation. I personally have not tried this, so I will not personally vouch for it. But apparently it is really effective when you take a dose before you go out and drink. So you need to take it the day of your party, for example, but it can also benefit you the morning after as well. Now, on to number 6, which is an old classic, and that's ginger tea. Ginger has a really natural anti-nausea property via an active ingredient called gingerol. And gingerol will help settle your stomach and reduce any feelings of queasiness that you might get from your hangover. Now, sipping on warm ginger tea can provide some really good relief, and it helps also with the rehydration stuff that you should be doing. Ginger can also, of course, alleviate nausea and vomiting caused by pregnancy and cancer treatments, motion sickness, and a million other conditions. So rather than using a tea bag, though, I actually prefer just going out and grabbing the root of ginger from the supermarket and steeping it in hot water for 5 to 10 minutes. You want to slice it up first. And you can also try getting the pickled ginger and just putting that into your breakfast as well. So it's really good just to have a jar of it for when nausea strikes, honestly. I have some in the fridge. Tip number 7 is to listen to your hangover cravings, which normally tell you to eat carbs. Alcohol lowers your blood sugar, so it might explain some of the dizziness and the shakiness that you get with a hangover, and your brain needs carbs for fuel. So having a couple of slices of dry toast or some whole grain crackers to help bring your blood sugar levels back up to normal is a really great idea. It's also going to give you an energy boost too. Tip number 8 is really basic but essential, and that is having a power nap. You already know that sleep is really crucial for recovery, and that a sleep pattern is really negatively impacted by alcohol. So first, it suppresses your REM sleep, which is really crucial for cognitive function and emotional regulation. And second of all, it can cause frequent awakenings during the night as your body metabolizes the alcohol, leading to fragmented and less restorative sleep. Even a short nap can help your body recover faster and help the associated fatigue from a hangover. So when people tell you to sleep it off, they're actually not wrong. Now, aim for a 20 to 30 minute power nap to avoid in the afternoon so that you can stop interfering with your nighttime sleep. Or you can decide to do a full 90-minute sleep cycle, and it's really going to help you get through the REM stages of sleep that you might be missing. Tip number 9 is to swap your really heavy lifting session, if you're used to doing those, into some light exercise. So those intense workouts are not recommended, especially if you're inflamed, you're sleep deprived, and you're nauseated. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't move at all, though. Don't lay around on the couch all day. If you're watching this and you're feeling nauseated on the couch, please go out after this video and go and get yourself some fresh air and a light walk. It's going to help with circulation and endorphins that your body is probably really in desperate need of. It's also going to boost your mood and your energy levels, so strap your sneakers on and go and walk it off. Finally, we're going to end on tip number 10, which is another liver support supplement, and that is milk thistle. Now, it's a herb that's been used for centuries to support liver health and its function. And whilst it won't cure a hangover, it might help your body recover recover a little bit faster by supporting your liver detoxification processes. Now, it contains something called silymarin, which is believed to have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. Now, some studies say that it may help protect the liver cells from damage and promote the regeneration of liver tissue. However, as with any supplement, it's really important that you consult with your healthcare provider before adding milk thistle to your regimen, particularly if you're on other meds, because it upregulates detoxification and it might make your meds less effective. So please remember, none of these hangover tips are cure-alls. It's always best to drink responsibly and avoid hangovers in the first place. I hope you found this useful though, and you wrote down some really hot hacks. Remember, you must check in with your physician before starting the supplements that I've suggested. You've got to stay hydrated, you've got to eat nutritious foods and give your body the rest it needs to recover fully. Thank you for tuning in for another episode, and thank you for your interest in nutritional science. Please go and enjoy your holidays responsibly, and remember that small, consistent changes can lead to significant improvements in your health over time. And until next time, stay focused on becoming the scientist of your own body and have a really happy holiday.